Getting your deposit back from your landlord is naturally at the top of your list when you're about to leave a rental property. So here's what you can do to make sure that welcome lump sum is back in your bank account, not headed for theirs. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter using the link with the episode, because we have all of the latest property tips for tenants and much more besides. It's a nerve-wracking business when a tenancy comes to an end, and you might well be worrying about what the landlord might deduct from your deposit. So let's break it down into what they can and can't deduct money for. Unpaid rent is one you really can't defend. You need to pay up on time, because if there's any rent outstanding, that's coming out of your deposit. But it's not a smart idea to think, well, I won't pay the last month's rent and then they can take it from the deposit, because that's still going to be recorded as rent arrears. And if there isn't enough in the pot to cover the back rent, the landlord can still take you to court for the rest. Plus, if you've built a reputation as a good tenant who pays on time, that's going to work in your favour when it comes to your next rental property. One of your responsibilities as a tenant is to leave the property in the same condition as you found it, or better. Being charged for cleaning when you move out, and bear in mind your landlord will charge you for professional cleaners. It's easy to avoid, so make sure you're on top of this. Part of that means taking good care of the property throughout the tenancy and not just having a mad cleaning blitz at the end. Charges for damages can be a contentious one. When you move in, you'll be given an inventory listing everything in the property and its condition. The difficulty here is what's the difference between fair wear and tear, the gradual deterioration in fabrics, carpets and fittings, for instance, which will happen with normal use and which you can't be charged for, and actual damage? It's a good idea to take pictures when you leave so you can defend yourself against charges for damage when actually it's just wear and tear. And on the subject of damage, again, it's important during your tenancy to notify your landlord or letting agent of any repairs that need fixing as they occur. Ignoring these generally leads to a deterioration in the condition of the property. And if you haven't flagged up problems as they appear, you can be charged for neglect. Likewise, if you haven't looked after the place, the cost of general maintenance might be something that gets deducted from your deposit. If your beloved pet has scratched the furniture, gnawed chair legs, or left a keepsake behind in the form of a flea infestation, expect the cost of dealing with those to come out of your deposit. I mentioned that inventory. On the last day, there'll be a check to see that everything on the list is present and correct. Lost items or broken furniture, for example, are likely to affect your deposit. In most cases, you need to get permission from your landlord if you want to redecorate, but they're likely to want you to put it back to the way it was. So, if you've painted a room a jaunty colour and knocked in nails to hang pictures when the place was rented to you with pristine white walls, you're expected to restore it to its original condition. But even if you get out your paint roller, if you do a shoddy job, the cost of redoing it properly can be taken out of your deposit. But what about when the landlord can't make a deduction? These are 5 most common examples of unfair deposit retentions and what you can do to fight them. We've already covered that your landlord can't bill you for carpets that haven't begun to fray up after a long time, or scuffs on the paintwork. It should be accepted that a property will look lived in. For the same reason, the landlord can't charge you for preparing the property for the next tenant. And you certainly can't be charged for upgrades to the property, like new carpets or appliances, unless you've damaged them. Likewise, you can't be charged for anything that was your landlord's legal responsibility to keep the property safe and habitable, like boiler maintenance, for instance. If a landlord feels they're owed more than the deposit amount, they can't just ask you for extra money. They need to take the appropriate legal action. Major structural damage from damp, subsidence, rot, etc. isn't your responsibility. And if there is a dispute over returning the deposit, your landlord can't charge you for the cost of gathering evidence or legal fees. Of course, in an ideal world, you're not going to give your landlord any grounds for holding back the deposit. Try to keep good, open communication going throughout your tenancy. Let them know as soon as possible if there's any damage or anything needs repairing, and definitely don't try and conceal it. Raise issues or concerns as soon as they occur, and keep records of any emails or phone calls. The inventory we've mentioned more than once is essential in preventing or settling disputes, because this is a record of how things were when you moved in, often with photo evidence too. So make sure you also take photos as you leave just to prove the condition. Once you've moved out, your landlord must return your deposit within 10 days of agreeing how much you'll be getting back. Now, your deposit must be held in an independent, government-backed deposit scheme, so make sure you find out which one yours is in. These are designed to protect tenants from unscrupulous landlords who see the deposit as an extra handy income. When it comes to renting, the more you know, the better. We're here to help you with everything from the start of your tenancy to the end. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the alert bell to make sure you don't miss out on any must-know info.